Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our series, How to Memorize Guitar Notes. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you a trick to find all the natural notes on the fretboard. First off, if you like all the diagrams from this series, including the diagrams from this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, Memorize Guitar Notes. But I am working on it right now as I'm filming this lesson, so it might not be available as you're watching the lesson. But once it is available, a link will pop up on the screen that'll allow you to download it. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to download it when it is available. This is part 7 from our series, How to Memorize Guitar Notes. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you a trick that will help you find all the natural notes fairly quickly. It's going to take some work just like everything, but I think it'll be a really useful trick to you if you just take the time to work on it. And again, this is just another trick that you can choose to use, or maybe it's not the best for you. Like I said in this series, I'm just breaking it down for you as much as I can, giving as many tricks as I can, and it's up to you to pick and choose what works best for you because everyone learns differently. So hopefully you remember that natural notes just means that they don't have sharps or flats and that there's 7 natural notes. And by finding the 7 natural notes, you've covered a large majority of your fretboard, and then the sharps and flats just fall in between the natural notes. So it's really easy to find the sharps and flats if you know where your natural notes are. So the first thing we're going to do is just find all of the A notes. And you can do that by using the octave game that I talked about. Start with the lowest A note as far as towards the headstock. So lowest in this direction, not talking about lowest in pitch. And that would be an open string, which is your open 5th string. So just go through, use the octave shapes, play the octave game, and find all the A notes like we did in the previous lesson. And even if this takes you some time, do this over and over until you're able to find all the A notes quickly and identify where they actually lie on your fretboard so that you can actually see where they land with the fret markers and just in relationship to your fretboard so that you can quickly visualize all the A notes. And go up to the A note that is on the 14th fret that I just circled, which is on the 3rd string, and I'll explain why as we go through this lesson. So like I said, go through the octave game until you can do that quickly. You'll end up with all the A notes up to the 14th fret, starting with the open string all the way up to the 14th fret. And then from here I'm going to explain how this will help you find all the natural notes. So hopefully you remember that the natural notes are just A through G, so it's just a regular alphabet, but following the musical alphabet, so it starts over at G and goes back to A, so it's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's 7 notes that create the natural notes in the musical alphabet. What we're going to do now, though, is move the A note to the middle of this and just rearrange the notes. So it's still in order. If you were to start on A, you still have B, C, D, then it starts over E, F, G, A. It's just now we've started on E, so it's just E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then back to E. And I'll explain why I've done this in just a second. So once we've done that, we're just going to start with the first part up to A. So E, F, G, A. We're going to remove these other notes just for now, and it would look like this. You have E, F, G, A. So those are just the natural notes in order from E to A, and that's just all we're looking at right now. And as you'll remember, E to F has no sharp or flat in between it, so that means these 2 notes are a half step apart. The rest of the notes are whole steps apart, so F to G and G to A are a whole step. And this is important because now that we know where the A notes are, we can find the E, F, and G notes really easily. So if we go back to our A notes, all the E, F, G notes are behind the A notes, and you know the steps that they're in. G is a whole step behind A, F is a whole step behind G, and E is a half step behind F. So you have E and F, which are a half step apart, a whole step here, and then G, another whole step, and then A. So no matter where you are on the fretboard, that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look just like this. So if we look back at our A notes and we add in on the 6th string the E, F, and G, it looks the exact same. So we have G a whole step behind A, F a whole step behind G, and E a half step behind F. So that means behind all of these A notes and behind as far as closer to the headstock, this is exactly what it's going to look like. E, F, G with the exact same space each time. So E to F is a half step, then a whole step, then a whole step, and that's what it's going to look like. So we can go through every string. So that was the 6th string. We can go to the 5th string. It's going to be the exact same thing. E to F is a half step, whole step between F and G, whole step between G and A, and just go through every single string and find where those land. So we have it here, Right here, we only have the G because we've run out of room. That's the open string. But then we have it here. That's on the same string behind this A. We have it here, and we have it here. So now by knowing where your A notes are, it's really easy to find where all your E, F, and G notes are. And the way you can practice this is after you've found your A notes, just play these on each string. Play E, F, G, A, knowing that the last note you land on is the A note that you've found already, and that the spaces stay the same every time. Half step, whole step between F and G, whole step between G and A, and you can just play them, say the notes. So as you play E, say E. As you play F, say F, etc. Play it on the 6th string, go down towards the floor to the 5th string, do the same thing, and just quickly start trying to find these and visualize where everything lands. And you base it around the A notes that you've already found and visualized around the fret markers. Now once you've done that, you can add in the rest of the notes. And again, that's easy to do because as we had E, F, G in this order with these distances behind A, we have B, C, D in this order and distances in front of A. So it would look like this. A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step, just like OA, C to D is a whole step, and no matter where you are on the fretboard, it's going to be the same distances. So again, if we go back to this with the E, F, G, and A on here, you just use A as your marker point because you've already found those first and visualized where they are on the fretboard, and then you just add in the B, C, D in front of all the A's. So again, there's a whole step between A and B, half step between B and C always, and a whole step between C and D always. So no matter where you are on the fretboard, that's what it's going to look like. So you just add those in front of all the A's. So you add it here, 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 and add it here. And you could add it in front of this one, but I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So now you've added all the BCDs the exact same way as we added the EFGs, just knowing the distances apart from the A that it goes whole step, half step, whole step, and you found all these notes now. So now you have all these E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then the rest of these open spaces where you don't have them, you just fill in knowing that anything that happens from the open strings on happens from the 12th fret on, or vice versa. So anything from the 12th fret on happens from the open strings on. Those notes just repeat, so you can fill in the different spots that are missing right now. For example, this E, F, G, A would fill in from the 12th fret on the exact same way. So if we did that everywhere, it would look like this. So this E, F, G, A is right here, just repeated because we're on the 12th fret. You know that everything that happens from the open strings up happens again from the 12th fret up. This right here is happening down here. What we had right here is happening down here, and so on. So now just by finding where all your A notes are and then knowing the distances of E, F, G behind the A's and the distances of B, C, D in front of the A's, you can quickly find all those notes. Now you have all the natural notes up and down the whole fretboard. And again, you can just make a game out of it. First find all the A's with the octave game, and then you can start with the EFGs behind the A's. Just start out really slowly, visualizing where your A's are and where these land behind all the A's, and then just try to find them on every string and just get faster and faster. Start really slow until you can visualize it really well and just get faster and faster. Then you can set a metronome and build your speed, and then you can do the same thing with the BCDs in front of the A's. And this will be a really good trick, a really useful thing to do every day. Just do it for a little bit each day, and this will really help you start visualizing your fretboard and where the notes land, and you'll get really good at it. So that's a trick for finding all the natural notes. You can go ahead and move on to the next lesson where I'm going to talk about sharps and flats. And be sure to download the e-guide. All the diagrams are in there, and be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.